Good morning. How's everyone doing? Good. Thank you for hosting me. I will try to make this quick and somewhat engaging, and just add that, talking about building an all-star sales force or a dream team, it's you don't sum it up in 15 minutes because there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. But what we can share with you is some valuable lessons we've learned from an amazing group of brands that we work with in the industry. And whether it's a small emerging brand that's pre-revenue, whether it's an Italian wine importer, whether it's a global beverage company that's doing M&A, we work with all of them. And the reality is there's amazing human beings behind these businesses, and they're all looking for growth. And they're looking for entrepreneurial brands that are doing exciting things, that are dynamic and that are scalable. And that is about innovation. It's about entrepreneurship. And I think that's why a lot of people in this room are here. It's access to each other. It's access to the community. And taking a step to attend this, I think is awesome. It's great to see this all come together because there's an incredible knowledge base and people in this community really love to share. And what we've had the good fortune of doing is working with companies like this to help them build their boards, help them build their C-suite leadership teams, help them build their management teams in sales or marketing or finance or operations, now e-com, for craft spirits, large global spirits companies, wine importers, local wine companies. And it's incredibly interesting to see how much the industry has changed over the past 10 years. But one thing has not changed. There's a lot of incredible ideas, and there's a lot of incredible brands. But one thing is for sure, it takes human beings to build brands and businesses. And so as you go about this journey of building your business, whether it's early stage or whether it's a little more mature, it's super critical that you identify the right people that are going to join your mission, that believe in your business, that believe in your brand, that believe in your portfolio to help deliver that, because it takes an army. No one's building the brand on their own. So one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about is developing your vision, a little bit about organizational design, attracting the right talent, building your team, compensation, it matters, it's a thing. Employee retention, which is so critically important. At this day and age, unemployment is at an all-time low. People don't want to go work for companies for 20 years. How do you make your company the type of operation that people decide to commit their lives to, chapters of their career to? And so it's really interesting because there's some great companies that are doing incredibly well. Let me see if I can. Okay, so attracting and retaining talent is the key to everyone's long-term success. And I think that that's what's so important. Everyone's got a different vision, everyone's got a different mission, everyone's got a different growth strategy, and it's really all about the people that you put around you to build the business. It truly is, because there's an idea, but then there's sales, marketing, finance, operations. Sales is critically important because sales is your revenue. And everyone's got unique success metrics. I think that by engaging with other entrepreneurs here, by finding mentors in the industry that are willing to help you, they can share with you some of the battles that that they've won and lost. They can share with you some of the mistakes they've made and the successes that they've had. So I think it's really important to ask for help. But when you look at your growth strategy, what are the pieces you need to have in place to get you there? And I think it's about having a clear understanding of where you are now and where you're headed. Because it's not about 5 years from now, it's about planning for that, but it's about building blocks, and it's about putting the right pieces of the puzzle in place to make sure you have the right infrastructure, the right systems, the right gross margins, and the right people focused on the right trade channels to help you deliver and execute that business goal or objective. So as you look at organizational design, a lot of people are founders. Maybe they have co-founders. Maybe they have a couple of people that have joined them to help sell product, because today we're talking about sales. I really help with organizational design and building companies cross-functionally. But the question is, what are your strengths as a founder? What are your strengths as an executive leader? If you're incredibly talented at building an operation or at fundraising or at branding, then you need to be self-aware and vulnerable and say, wait a minute, I need someone that understands sales strategy. I need someone that understands a 3-tier distribution network. I need someone that understands off-premise accounts or national accounts or whatever that is. So if you're a CEO or you're a founder, you might have strengths in sales. If you do, early stage, you probably don't need a VP of sales. You can probably handle it. You're the face of the brand. You're the face of the portfolio. If sales is not your strength, identify that and put good people around you. But initially, this is kind of how it starts. You got a founder or CEO, you have someone that's VP of sales, but really it just means a top sales manager, and you could potentially be a janitor as well. And you need sales reps. You need people out there in the market that are going to be in the field, that are visiting accounts, that are doing tastings, that are doing educational training seminars, that are working with your wholesalers. So this is kind of how it starts. And this is what it ends up looking like. If you build your business properly, if you become the next High West, if you become the next Deep Eddy, if you want to become the next Saint Germain, if you want to become a Palm Bay, you get there, but you don't start there. You get there by hiring really smart people around you that have been through this journey before, that are willing to add value because they have experience. Strategically building your sales team, well, one thing's for sure. We're all in the industry of creating incredible products that we're all super passionate about. Craft spirits is wonderful. Boutique wines are wonderful. Craft beer is amazing. You gotta love it. But you gotta find people that truly, truly become an extension of your philosophy of doing business and love the products that you create. Because if they don't truly love what you represent, it's probably not going to be that authentic. And it's not going to resonate with your customers, which then connect with the consumers. So I think that in an early stage, and I'm kind of talking early stage today, I'm not talking global CPG, the largest spirits or wine companies in the world. That's a separate conversation. I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs here that are interested in what it takes to build things. We can always have a sidebar at different scale. But as far as creating a hybrid approach, there's incredibly talented people that are functional experts in certain areas, which you can bring on as advisors or consultants early stage that can help you get new distribution, that can help you with on-premise national accounts, that can help you with chain business. That's really valuable. And you don't need to bring them on your payroll. You don't need to worry about workers' comp and liability. It can be more of a consultative type role. But when it comes to people that are actually managing your sales business, that are actually accountable for your revenue growth, you need them to think about it first thing when they get up in the morning. You need them to think about it right before they go to sleep at night. They need to live and breathe it. They need to be full-time employees of your company that completely buy in. It doesn't mean that you don't have extended teams around them, but someone's got to look out for that business every single day and make sure you're driving it forward. And you've got those thresholds and you've got those metrics in place and those are being met, because don't ever forget, you've got a business and there needs to be people that are accountable for the sales function, just like marketing, just like finance, just like production, manufacturing, supply chain, logistics. But sales is what drives your revenue, and everyone here probably has been in the position where they probably had to raise capital at some point. And the more you spend and the longer it takes to hit those sales metrics, the more dilution you experience if you're raising capital. So achieving those sales metrics are critically important. So bring the right people. It doesn't mean you need a bunch of them, but bring the right people that are stewards of your brand, that are going to help you grow and generate revenue. Attracting the right sales talent. I think this is a really important thing, because I've been an entrepreneur and I started a spirits company way back in the day, and worked with a couple friends that I went to college with, and they were my buddies, and we all believed in what we were doing and we hustled really hard. And that's great when you're just building early stage. But don't forget, you're running a business and you need to clearly define what roles and responsibilities are in your company, regardless of the stage of the business. Even if it's someone who's working for a small salary and you've known them forever, define that. But you're going to grow up quick if your brand works and if you have the right people around you. So you need to really clearly define roles in divisions and designate leaders, because everyone wants to know what success looks like. As much as you're an entrepreneur, that's fine. there's got to be space to be creative and to do innovative things. But really, when you're hiring a sales team, they are motivated by achieving goals. They want to be rewarded. So you really have to make sure that you're setting the right people up for the right success. And part of that's the interview process. Like, interviewing is a very casual thing for a lot of people. It's like, oh, we like them, they really like our brand, they've worked here, that's a shiny object. That brand was really successful. They built Hendrix, or they built Crown Royal, or they built Saint Germain. A lot of people built it. So what did they actually do? What were they actually responsible for? And how can you verify that? Who were you talking to that they used to work with to make sure that whatever position you put them in, you're setting them up for success? And that's just being respectful to your business, and that's doing proper diligence. But when you're interviewing and you have 3 or 4 people that might be involved in the process, make sure that they're not all asking the same questions. Make sure that you're not putting someone through this process and you've got 4 people that are all interviewing for personality and cultural fit, and you're not getting the heart of it. Can they do this job well? Are they set up for success? Because the reality is, once you're in it, it's no longer shiny. You really got to get in it, and you've got to grow the business, and there's the high level of expectation. So I think it's just the importance of asking the right questions. There's a great book called Top Grading Talent. If any of you are into mastering the interview process, it's awesome. Highly recommend checking it out. But here's the thing. With building teams today, because I know I have like 75 staff members myself, it's not easy. Not everyone's just looking for a job anymore, and you're lucky to keep someone engaged for 3 to 5 years. And there used to be the mentality, you're just lucky to have a job with our company. The reality is that's not the case anymore. The talent, 9 times out of 10, they're working. They're working for competitive brands. They're working for competitive businesses. And you have to be able to communicate and articulate the benefit of joining your organization. Why should they want to work for your company besides the fact that you have the best product in the market? A lot of people have great products. What is it about the people in your organization? What is it about the operation? What is it about the growth opportunity, succession plans, development plans? How are you going to get someone there, and how are you going to keep them there? How are you going to make sure that they really want to grow with you? Because guess what? The second you have a rising star in your company, all your competitors are looking at them. All of them. So it's about respecting the human beings and allowing them to grow so you can retain them. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And that kind of dovetails into compensation, early years versus later years. I mean, listen, the reality is you just got to create a budget. You got to create a budget, and you got to stick to the budget. And one of the biggest mistakes that we see very often is early stage companies, you see their sales projections, and hitting, 30,000 cases, in year 3 with 2 salespeople. And you say, great, that sounds wonderful. How are you going to achieve that? Well, I don't want to have too much SG&A. I don't want to have too much headcount. Well, the reality is, it's going to be part of the process. So it's much better when you're doing your financial forecast to budget over what you think you'll spend and to come under budget when the year comes to a close. What you don't want to do is go back to your partners or go back to your investor and say, you know what, we left out these 2 hires, it's an extra $200,000, but we really need the money, or we didn't budget for it. Allocate for that, come in under budget. It seems to always be the safest bet for entrepreneurs that are building their businesses. When you talk about building your team and keeping it lean, I think you really do. For those of you that are early stage, it's not as much about a base salary or paying over market. There are a few things that are really important. There was this thought a few years ago. We've seen a lot of companies do this, and it very rarely works. Is we're going to pay people like the bare minimum because we're entrepreneurial, and they just have to buy into what we're doing. They totally have to just buy into it because it's the best thing. Well, right, but employees that come work for your company, they're not founders. They still have to pay rent. And just because your brand's amazing, to expect them to take a 30 to 40% reduction in what they're making doesn't mean that their rent is reducing 30 to 40%. So you have to be respectful and realize at your level, if you're a sub $1 million company, a sub $10 million company, a sub $50 million company, what fair market comp looks like. And we can always share that with you, and you can contact us. I mean, it doesn't cost you a thing, but it's really important to know that. But what you're typically seeing in compensation, base salaries, Bonuses and sales typically range between 20 to 35% of a base salary. They're not guaranteed. They're based on goals and objectives we call KPIs, key performance indicators, paid out quarterly or annually. Health insurance is a thing. A lot of companies say, I don't want to pay the health insurance. It's $700 a month or $600 a month. It is one of the most short-sighted decisions you can make for your team to not pay health insurance. I mean, really, it's valuing the human being. It's a sense of security. It's not that expensive, and very often when you do those things, it prevents someone from coming to have to ask for a raise all the time because they know you care, and some companies don't do it. Health insurance is one of those things that actually really matters. And then probably some of you here, I would imagine, are in situations where you're saying, I'm doing equity, or I'm doing profits interest, or I want someone to be, that's great. The reality is most of the emerging brands are doing that now. Really is, and typically it's it's profits interest. So if the base value of your company is $5 million and they come in at that stage and you sell your company for $20 million and you give them 1% profits interest, they get 1% of the delta between 5 to 20 million. But it vests over 3 to 4 years, which what we call annual cliffs typically. It means each year it vests. So if you give someone 1% of profits interest, every year they get a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, and a quarter. Okay? So that's how it really works with a lot of these companies. It's happening now, but just because you're doing equity or profits interest doesn't mean that someone's going to take such a smaller salary, because they still have to pay their bills. And just remember, early stage, a lot of people that start at that stage, they're probably not independently wealthy yet. They're working really hard. Now, when you get to a later stage and your business is highly successful, it's not as much about the equity. It's about the base compensation and the bonus and the real money that people make. So what the right time is to upgrade? I mean, that you just reach certain inflection points as you're scaling your business, and we can always talk about that. But I think that compensation is like the elephant in the room that no one ever wants to talk about. But the fact of the matter is, if you want the best people to come work for you, you just have to know if that specific stage that your business is at, what people would pay, what other competitors are paying. And that's it. It doesn't mean you need to pay above market. Employee retention, we talked about this. Providing fair market compensation and benefits, that goes without saying. Yes, people need to be paid to live. But something that's much more important, and I have seen so many cases where incredibly talented people have said, you know what, I'm passing on this offer. It's an extra $15,000. The reason I'm passing is the company culture is unbelievably healthy. And I met with all these people that work there and they love it. And they don't want to be anywhere else. And the leadership, the managers, everyone that I met with cared about my career growth, cared about my contributions. I got inside and I understood the human beings. Because make no mistake, as fast as we're moving and as much as we've got territories and we're driving revenue, it's all about the people that you work with. You got to really enjoy them because you're all in this together and there's a common goal. So developing a healthy and positive company culture, I think is really important. And there's certain things that you can do. What we do at our company is, for our executive leadership team, is we have career coaches. So they have their own coaches they can deal with, and they work on their own professional development, they work on their own personal development. It's unbelievable to see the growth and the trajectory and the maturity. But for those companies that aren't there, there's little things. There's training and development. There's industry certifications. If someone wants to go take Bar Smarts, or someone wants to go take the SOM exam, or someone wants to go take a public speaking course, those things can cost you a few $100, $500. But that is about career growth. That is about caring about the people behind the company and what they're actually doing on a day-to-day basis to mature. And they really appreciate that. And when you do those things, they're not always asking for a raise because they know that you really care about them and they understand the financial situation that you're in very often. Training and development is really important. Another thing that I think we started doing, and I advise a lot of our clients and a lot of our partners to do, there's performance reviews are a thing. And a lot of people say, I don't have time for performance reviews. Like, I'm too busy. Everyone's just working really hard. Well, I'd say to not do them puts you in a position where you don't know what's going on with your business, really. Because there's a way to do that. And on a quarterly basis, if you have a review situation where your managers if it's just one manager, just you managing your staff, or you have a group of managers managing their team, it's wonderfully powerful to review them, but to get them to review their managers, a 360 review, so they tell you what's happening in your business, and they let you know the fundamental issues, the areas of improvement, and where you can grow. You would be shocked to see how many of the best ideas your company comes up with, the best innovations, the best efficiencies are by your people in the street. And if you just take the time to listen to them, 30 minutes once a quarter, they want to feel like they're on track, they want to know what success looks like, and they want their voice to be heard. And if you actually listen and you put those plans into action, you develop leaders. And it's really all about leadership. The best companies in this business, and I will tell you, all the CEOs in the wine and spirits industry will say the same thing. It's about the best people. The best people that are loyal, the best people that have been trained and developed, and the best people that know how to grow the business, and they know how to build teams. So I think that reviewing the performance of your company and all the staff within is really a powerful thing. Avoiding common mistakes. A lot of these are very self-explanatory. Like designating territories. And, it's very easy to say, just go get it. Hit the market. Hit every account you can hit, because that's what you're supposed to do, and that's what we need to do to grow revenue. But if you can really define what a territory looks like by trade channel, on-premise, off-premise, chain, A account, B account, C account, whatever it is, like set people up for success, let them stay in their lane. Once they're in the lane, they can be incredibly creative, they can be very autonomous and do whatever they need to do to make things happen. But if they don't really know what territory is, it can be very gray. So I think that's for management to do up front. Establishing challenging goals. You never want to sandbag yourself. You never want to say, this is a gimme. We're all in the business of growing business. We're all in the business of generating more revenue. So if you establish challenging goals that are attainable, and you put thresholds in place and goals and KPIs that are visible and they understand how to get there, man, your company can grow. Define budgets. Keeping growth at a steady pace. Sometimes expanding too quickly. Chris said this. And Chris, has an incredibly awesome company, and they work with so many great brands and portfolios. And one of the things that you'll see, like getting distribution in 50 states overnight, that's not the key to success. Going deep, getting velocity, that is where you really, really, really want to be. And when you expand too quickly, there's growing pains, and it's difficult to control it, especially if you don't have the sales team to support it on a national basis. So understanding what that looks like, is very important. Treat your team with respect. I guess the biggest thing that I've seen the best companies do is the CEOs and the founders are just comfortable being vulnerable and saying, I just don't know how to do this. Like, I'm not the best at this. Let me get the most talented professional in the room at this stage that can do this better than I can. Because if they can do this better than I can and they can drive sales, we're going to be much better off as an organization. So it's kind of like checking your ego at the door and saying, I know what I need to deliver this mission and to grow at a healthy clip. And so I'd say hire people in functional areas that are just more talented. And the reality is you're only as good as the team around you. And there's a lot of wonderful people in this business that you have the opportunity to connect with, bring on board, but it's about retaining them and growing healthy company culture. And if any of you guys ever want to talk about it, please feel free to reach out. We have an office in New York, in LA, San Francisco, Boulder, Austin, we're all over. And we just, it's not about us making a placement for you or you engaging us to recruit. It's about, like Chris said, paying it forward and helping the community. And if you guys never need advice on fair market compensation package data, organizational design, job descriptions, just talking about growth, we're happy to do it. And we have like 25, 30 people on staff we call career concierge. And that's all they do. They're career therapists. And we're here to help you guys. So anyway, I don't know if there's a Q&A right now or if that's a wrap. Yeah, okay, cool. Does anyone have any questions or anything I can answer? Yeah. So I guess Sid and Malvika will probably have it. I'm sure it'll be online, or we can send to you, or you could just shoot me an email. I'm just josh@bevforce.com. It's all online? Okay, great. Yes? There are, and it really depends on, you know, it's something we could talk about offline. It depends on what your, you know, kind of case and revenue goals look like, in kind of looking at that, the threshold of the type of manpower required to achieve that realistically on a market-to-market basis. We could definitely share that with you. I mean, there's not a one-size-fits-all, because it's different if you're a hazelnut liqueur opposed to a vodka, you know, but there are some best kind of like industry standards and practices. Yeah, which I'd be happy to share. Great, awesome. Well, listen, yes, please.
What did you say KPI stands?
KPI stands for, it's a fancy way of saying key performance indicators, and it's basically a goal. And if you have 3 or 4 goals, one's a revenue goal, one's a gross margin goal, one's a new distribution point goal, and one might be just a cocktail menu placement goal, that's kind of how you evaluate and grade the team to make sure that they're delivering at the level that you set out for them to deliver on. Yes? The size of a team? Well, it depends on the stage of like level of maturity for the business. Like, is there a specific case volume that? Not particularly. You know, well, it really depends. It really depends on the markets nationally that you decide to go in distribution. I mean, if you're in 50 states and you've got, you know, one product, you might need less coverage than if you're in 50 states and you have 15 products. But you want to pick those key markets. And very often at an early stage, you can put people to run a region around that, so you don't have people in every single market across the country. And maybe they're in like a highly concentrated city or market, and then they can travel to surrounding markets. So usually early stage, we see less VPs of sales, more regional managers that are more on the ground doing the work, rolling their sleeves up. And as you reach kind of a level of maturity, then you'll have that layer on top. And you know, regions are typically like Southeast, Northeast, you know, Midwest, South Central, you know, across the country. So regional manager structures make a lot of sense, but they're really actually in the field doing it early stage. Yeah. Yes? Yes. You know, there's we actually have a platform that enables you to connect. Now, there's our business is one resource, and then there's, you know, obviously the LinkedIns of the world and college universities, but we have a platform called BevForce.com, and BevForce.com is a job board where you can do it yourself. And you can put up a job description, and like people will apply on the go, on their iPhones or their Androids, or when they're at their desktop, they're looking for more entry-level sales roles. And we also have an executive recruiting division that does more like strategic management director, VP, and C-suite. That's all behind the scenes offline, where we handle the whole recruitment process for you. But I would say for like distributor sales reps, early stage, posting online on like BevForce.com, you would get, we have a couple 100,000 people in that community, and yeah, and they apply for those roles regularly. We actually have the BevForce team back there. Jeff handles that. Any other questions, or that's good? Okay, looks like. Thank you guys so much for hosting me. Greatly appreciate it.